told your friend you're not okay? And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away, as you fade away.
Yeah, I'm about to fade away, cause every time I wake up I feel like it's Monday. Something's going wrong with all the chemicals up in my brain. All of a sudden I don't look at anything the same way. Gotta build up of my thoughts sitting in an ashtray. I'm sorry that I'm so inconvenient, okay? Just let me be me and I'll stay out of your way. I can see the way you look at me, I'm such a disgrace. I never really asked to be brought into this place. You wanna love me? Well then baby I have a taste. All the highs and the lows, no you'll never be the same. I don't really wanna hurt you but I can't control the pain. If you're sticking by my side maybe we could be okay. Okay, maybe you could be the change I need today. I promise that I've never felt this way. I really hope that you will choose to stay through all the pain.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away, as you fade away, as you fade away, as you fade away.
Like nothing I found, my mind overwhelms. I think that I'm broken, but I hope you can't help. I know I'm not perfect, but some days I feel far more worthless. Baby, you make me feel nervous. If I still have you, I have purpose. It's all worth it.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. I guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away, as you fade away, as you fade away. Tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray.
All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making the plays. You talking the game, get you to the days. Great eye in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.
Welcome to Jags Nation. Every Sunday at 9:30 till 11 o'clock, it's Jags Nation here on the All Sports All Plays Network. I'm your host, Ray Cruz. How you doing out there, ladies and gentlemen? You can get on the comments if you're on Facebook or YouTube. You can ask some questions if you want to throughout the show. We have fan interaction on this show also. You can chime in on the Atlanta Falcons preseason game, and you can also chime in tonight for the who's going to be cut, who you want to see cut, who do you want to see stay, and how do we improve this team to be even better. But I'm going to start the show on a good feel story here. Devin Lloyd, he hasn't played all preseason. He was nursing a hamstring. He did actually get on his first preseason game against the Atlanta Falcons. He did pretty good out there. You could notice him, and he was out there about 25 plays during the game, and he made some good tackles and some good plays, and then it's good to see him out there. He said he felt good. He definitely had fun. His hamstring is not hurting him. He was extremely healthy. He stayed healthy throughout the game, so that's a good sign for the Jaguars and getting Devin Lloyd back into the action and getting back into the play before regular season starts in 2 weeks. So he was the number 27 overall draft pick in 2022. He played the first half Saturday after missing the first 3 preseason games with a hamstring injury. He did redshirt 5 tackles, and perhaps most importantly, he left the game uninjured. That's a good feel story to start off this thing here. Doug Peterson said he came out of the game perfectly fine. He had no health. He said he was strong and healthy. He wanted to get him out of the first quarter at least. He did well. He looked good and played fast. It was good to see. And that's all from Doug Peterson, the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Rookie third-round selection, Chad Moon played extensively. Lloyd spotted throughout much of the 2022 training camp. Lloyd and the third-year veteran, Shaquille Quarterman, started inside Saturday with Muma not playing at the Jaguars rested most of the stars and frontline players. And if you don't know, Muma is the linebacker out of Wyoming. He stood out when I looked at some of his tapes from his highlight tapes on Wyoming when he was going through the draft. He stood out to me. He's fast. He can play the linebacker position. So our linebacker core is going to be deep this year. I think we're going to have a better sense of defense. I think defense is going to play better than it did last year. I think we're going to be, most improved team in the NFL. I believe that in my heart. I believe Doug Peterson has gotten the Jaguars going into the right direction, and that's a good sign here in Jacksonville itself and in the Jaguar fan nation. So we got to stand up and be proud of this team. We got to be backing in TIA vein when they come home. They play in the first game up in Washington on 9/11. They're playing the Washington Commanders, the first game of the regular season. Tuesday, about 4 o'clock Tuesday, we should know who the 53-man roster, who got cut. We could be looking at some watching other teams cut their players and could pick up somebody valuable that could fit our scheme that might not fit other team schemes. So that's going to be a good trend on there. And we'll bring all the cut and everything on Wednesday at Jag Nation at 7 o'clock till 8 o'clock. It's an hour show. That's the show that we will set you up for the game of the week of Sunday. So we're going to be talking about the cuts, and we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff going on throughout, because the cuts, you got to be cut by 4 p.m. on Tuesday. You got to be at your 53-man roster by 4 p.m. So that's going to give us a good time to get the show set up for you on that. Let's take a look here with Shaq Quarterman. And that's an interesting here. I don't know if he might not be around. I don't think he's. I think he might be on the possibility of the cut. He hasn't played very strong in the preseason games. He did okay Sunday. I think he's one of the things that we might see bye, and because I mean we got Chad Muma, we got Devin Lloyd, and you can play Walker out there too, and I mean and that's a something that we got to see here because our linebacker core is going to be deep, and like I said, he's on the chopping block. I believe that in my heart. I believe that he's not producing the way he's supposed to be producing. I think this is the time we might see him on not on the 53-man roster, but we're going to check that out on Tuesday. So, but I mean, if you look at some of the things here, wide receiver Laviska Shenault Jr. He was a second-round selection in 2020 NFL draft. Started and caught 2 passes for 19 yards Saturday. He caught 1 pass for 6 yards in preseason week 2 against Pittsburgh last week after missing the first 2 preseason games with a hamstring issue. He also had a hamstring issue. And I think he's fighting for a roster spot. I know he can play a lot of versatile on the offensive. On the offense, he can play in the running back position. He can go out and play in the wide receiver, but he needs to step up here. If he's going to make this 53-man roster, and if he does make it, he's probably going to be on a little bit of a short leash. He's got to start producing. And I mean he's big and he's physical and he can run the ball and he can play in different. We can move him up in different lineups and different positions. So that's going to be a little bit of versatile for our offensive schemes here in Jacksonville. So I think Laviska Shenault could make the final roster, and I think all the wide receivers really got to step up this year. And we're going to later on in the show we're going to break some of the numbers down in the preseason for Trevor Lawrence and what he did through the 3 preseason games that he played in Cleveland, Pittsburgh, and the 2 preseason games he actually played. He didn't play against the Las Vegas in the Hall of Fame game. He didn't play against Atlanta, so because he's resting, he's one of the starters that are resting. So I mean, if you want to look at some notable people here, is rookie quarterback EJ Perry, who originally signed with the Jaguars as a collegiate free agent shortly after 2022 NFL draft, started and played in the entire game of the Jacksonville Jaguars on Saturday. He completed 19 out of 37 passes for 201 yards and 1 touchdown with 2 interceptions. And them 2 picks, man, I don't know if he was looking dead at him and he stared him down and they jumped on the route. But I mean, if he's going to be that backup quarterback, he's going to have to cut some of his decision making. He's got to be a little bit of, because if you look at the Jaguars are not made up if you go into the season as being turnover prone. And we're going to talk about a lot of stuff here tonight. We're going to talk about the red zone efficiency that we had during the preseason. We're going to talk about some of the turnovers, and we're going to talk about some of the penalties. And we're going to base it off what we've seen last year. We had more penalties than most teams in the NFL. Red zones, we weren't effective last year. Penalties killed us in opportune times last year. And I think our team wasn't disciplined under Urban Myers. And I think that's the thing that we got to really, look at here between Urban Myers and Doug Peterson here and a true NFL coach. It's a collegiate coach. So, I mean, if you look at it here, I think our team is going to be better off. And I think some of the reflections of last year with the penalties and stuff like that, it looked like it was cut down a little bit in these 4 preseason games that we played. But we'll talk about that. I got some slides for that, and we're going to bring up some of the numbers, and then we'll talk about it later on in the show here. Right now, there has not been a noticeable anybody being cut over the weekend. I think the Jaguars are probably going to play their hand out a little bit here. We might see some cuts coming in, and on Monday, we might see all of it just transpire at about 4 p.m. on Tuesday. That's the deadline that everybody has to have their team, all the team in and stuff like that. So that's gonna be a great way to tell you straight up how everything is gonna work out here in thing. But I mean, like I said, once again, Devin Lloyd actually played last yesterday at 3, during the game. He was very effective in the game. So I think that's a good sign for us right there with Devin Lloyd playing. Uh, you know, get him wet as first NFL game, get him in a little bit of NFL action before regular season starts. So we're going to see how that everything does. And like I said, we went over to Pittsburgh and, talking about Laviska Shenault, who has been lined up in different positions last year in the backfield and stuff like that. So that's a good barometer there, and talking about some stuff on that end right there. So that's some good stuff right there. Talking about this. I also looked at when they claimed a kicker. We finally got a kicker. He did actually pretty good. Jake Verti. Wade got waived, and the quarterback. We claimed a kicker, Jake Verti, waived quarterback Jake Luton, and linebacker Grant Morgan. This was all transpired on I think the 26th of August. So all that changed dynamically in that area of what the Jaguars are thinking here. I mean, so I mean, if you look at some certain things here that we can build off this Atlanta Falcon game, I got some numbers here we can take a look at here. Jaguars only had 13 first downs in this ball game. Seven of the 13 passing came out of the passing game at first down, 3 out of the rushing first down, and 3 out of the first down for penalties. Third down efficiency was 2 for 11 for the Jacksonville Jaguars. The defense gave in the fourth down efficiency we were 1-1. We have total of 57 plays to the Falcons 65 plays. We had total of 251 yards total offense to 309, and the total drives we had 11 out of their 12. But yards per play was only 4.4 to their 4.8, and passing, like I said, we had 197 yards passing to their 174. We led it in the passing. EJ Perry he completed 19 out of 37. Ritter completed 14 out of 22 for the Falcons, 5.1 yards per pass. So that means he didn't get the ball down the field as we wanted to. He pretty much played a slow pace, game and stuff like that. So he didn't really chunk the ball down the field, but he averaged per pass play averaged 5.1 yards. He thrown 2 interceptions. But our defense got 2 interceptions off of Ritter. And he got sacked. EJ Perry got sacked twice for 4-yard loss, and we sacked Ritter twice for 11 yards. Rushing, the Atlanta Falcons got us on rushing for 135 to our 54. We had 18 attempts to the Falcons 41. We rushed for 3.0 yards for an average, and to their rush, they rushed 3.3 on the average. The red zone, we were 1 for 2, 50% to their 90% at 4 or 5. Penalties, we had 5 penalties for 50 yards to their 10 penalties for 86 yards. And we turned the ball over. Both teams turned the ball over twice, both off interceptions. No points given off defense or special teams. We possessed the ball for 24 minutes and 35 seconds of the game. They possessed the ball for 35-25 in a ball game. So, I mean, that's a telltale for the third preseason, our fourth preseason, the third overall for the NFL. The teams that didn't play in the Hall of Fame game. So if you look at this, if they're going off these numbers, you can't really do that because none of our starters really played. Falcon starters didn't play. It was all the people trying to make the team. I think our defense did okay, not great. They did give up 28 points we only got 12. Most of our points came in the second quarter. We got 9 points in the second, 3 points in the first, none in the third or fourth quarter. Falcons scored 7 in the first, 7 in the second, 7 in the third, and 7 in the fourth. They come over their 28 points. Falcons finished in the preseason 2-1. Jaguars finished 0-4. So that's we didn't win anything, but you can't really, like I said, you got to take preseason with a grain of salt. Yeah, if your starters play against their starters, you have to see what their barometer is set up for against their number one defense. And then we seen that in Cleveland. We seen that and all the way up to the first play of the second quarter in Cleveland. We actually beat the Cleveland starters in that preseason game. So that I count that as a win for the Jaguars because our starters outplayed their starters. Only got, they had 7 yards total offense and then our second and third string came in. That's when they came back and took the lead over us. Same thing with Pittsburgh. Our starters played very well. They were halftime score was 7-6. Come back, Pittsburgh. We had a chance to win it, and like I said, our field goal kicker wasn't up to par then, and we just got a good field goal kicker off the waiver, so we're going to give him a try. Our kicking game it's been ferocious all season long, preseason long. I think our punter he's been good. Cook can get the ball down the field and change the field position if he doesn't do any bad punts. He had a couple bad punts during the preseason, but I think he worked out very well and got all the kinks out with him. So he's going to be a weapon this year if we have to punt the ball and change field positions. So that's going to be a thing too. We got to watch it and see how the Jaguars can play and see if they can get the ball turned over, and we can turn teams over at a higher rate than we've been doing in the past years. That's going to be taking the way of our defensive coordinator if he can put pressure up there and we can change some of our coverage. Come man to man, sometimes go to zone, jam the receiver. Don't let the receivers get free reign off the line of scrimmage, and our pass rush is going to have to get there too to help our corners out. I think our corners are still going to be the weakest point of this defense. I think our front seven could be stout. We have to see how they play up in the first game of the season. And the first true test is going to be on the road. I know we're playing the Washington Commanders and stuff like that, but they still got a good defense up there and Chase Young and stuff. So, we still got to respect them, but their offense, is kind of scheming. They look pretty good over the preseason game. Sam Howell has done pretty good for the Washington Commanders, so we had to start preparing for them here, and we got them in 2 weeks. So that's up in 9/11 up in Landover, Maryland, at the stadium up there. So my advice, if you are Jag fans and you are going up to Washington area, DC area, when the game starts at 1:00 Eastern time, you better get in that truck. You should be tailgating or waiting for them to open up the parking lot at, early in the morning so you can get through the traffic, or get close by, and then you can get in there and hopefully get in there before the traffic really gets, because the traffic around DC area and up going towards Landover, Maryland, it's pretty hectic on that 495 and 95 and stuff. So I used to live up there for a little bit there for 5 years, so they'll have to deal with that traffic up there. So I'd take my advice. If you're going up to the Washington D.C. area to watch the Jaguars play the Commanders, you need to get in that traffic early and get in so you can be at the ball game when the stadium opens up. So that's going to be that's a little tidbit for you there on if you're traveling up to the Washington D.C. area. If you have never been up there, I suggest go for like a week and take a tour of all the monuments and all the history up there. You can get a lot of history up there, Smithsonian's up there, so that's a lot of stuff. Jag fans, you can get up there and hit that city, be up there for a week, and you get a lot of stuff going on up there. And then you can get it, and then you can go to the game at the game's at 1:00 up there in Eastern time. So that could be a good thing for the Jag fans to go if you want to go up there. So if you look at this here, if you look at it here too, penalties, that's another thing that we're going to talk about later on here. The penalties coming up in these games here are it has been less than what we had in last year under Urban Myers. So I think our disciplines are coming back. I think we got rid of some of the people that are not really was disciplined enough. I think this team is starting to get the discipline and getting this out. I think this is going to be a 3 or 4 year. I think a good 3 or 4 year project with Doug Peterson here. I think it's going to take a little bit to get his players in here, get his system really acclimated here. Trevor Lawrence has got to play a little bit better. Our red zone has to pick up. I told you last week, our red zone offense has to pick up this year. They have to, if they get in that red zone, they have to score. And I'm not talking about field goals. I'm talking about touchdowns. We have to turn these field goal opportunities from last year. We have to turn these around into touchdowns. If we go back to that last game of the season against Indianapolis Colts, that's probably one of the best games we played all year. um, during that season. So I mean, I think if you go and take a little bit of the tape of that and then do what we need to do here, now we got 2 weeks. We got 2 weeks for Doug Peterson to come up with a game plan and try to get us into the end zone from 20 yards in. At 20 yards in, this has been the hectic play of this postseason, this preseason game right now. I mean, you gotta really think about it here. You know, uh, you'll look at it later when we bring up the stats here, when we bring everything up here in a minute. Interception turnovers. That's another thing too. We have to cut down on. Seriously, we threw some interceptions some of these preseason games at an inopportune time. And like that Pittsburgh game, we threw one in an opportune time. They got them going, and then all of a sudden they picked it up. So I mean, that's another thing too. We can't help other teams try to beat us. I mean, that's been the problem with Jacksonville. We do some stupid stuff at a crucial time of the game. If we get a first down on a third down play and we get a holding call, it puts us back 10 yards, and then we have to try to pick it up again. And half the time we don't pick it up. Our defense is going to have to get off the field too out on third downs. You come to Jacksonville, you play good on the first and second down. That third down, they somehow get a first down on us, and it keeps our defense out there a little bit more. So our defense has got to figure out. They're going to have to come up with game plans and have to figure out how they can take teams out at the third down. We have to get off the field on third down. We have to take what we can. We got to minimize our mistakes. We got to minimize everything. We cannot make these minimal errors and these mistakes during the games. We don't have the talent right now. We don't have the fortitude to go out and get these people and keep them straight out. I mean, that's something we have to really look at in this thing here. We have to minimize our turnovers on offense. We have to minimize our penalties on offense. Our defense has to get off on third downs. We have to change possession of the football field. We have to do a lot of stuff. We got to create turnovers ourselves. I mean, if you come to Jacksonville, I mean, our corners play. The last 3 or 4 years, our corners play way off, and your corner's on a disadvantage once you let them get off free off the line. Because they're going to be on the same time as the quarterback, because you got no pressure up in the middle. You got no pressure on the quarterback. You're going to be a lot of things. You're going to be a lot of things over there, and you got to be a lot of things you're going to have to watch out for here. Because what you're looking at here is, if you don't get no jams on them, you don't knock the receiver off the time, or you don't get the quarterback hurry, you cannot create the turnovers, because it's just a pitch and catch. I mean, dude, in the Pittsburgh game, it really made me mad when I saw the corners playing way off. Number 80 at the time for Pittsburgh, he comes off the thing. He runs the play twice. Same thing. A 5 and out. Completion both times on the exact same play. Exact same formation. Our corner did not pick it up again. And, I mean, this was an easy completion. It was like a pitch and catch. We got to get away from that. Pitch and catch is all in high school and, Pop Warner and all that. Now you're playing big man ball right now. You got to learn your craft. You got to learn the tendencies of another team. And that's what film study comes in. Our team has to learn film studies. You have to watch what your opponent is doing. You have to watch what the receiver's doing. You have to watch what the moves are doing on the plays. You got to pick up his tendencies. And the corner has to be there. They have to remember all this. I mean, you could give up some completions. It's not a fact, but you have to shut them down at a certain point to where you get 3 and out, and you get the ball back into your offensive hands. I think this is what this team has to learn. They have to not throw the ball turnover. They got to have no penalties on key plays on both sides of the ball. I'm telling you, Jacksonville Jaguars we have a very, very slim margin of victory to get into this thing. And the only way you can get this slim, and victory on this thing here is to pick up your tendencies. Pick up a lot of stuff, that's coming in here. It's a lot of stuff that you got to remember as a corner. You got a lot of stuff you got to remember as a defense. NFL playbooks are very thick and very and top heavy. So that's another thing too. You got to learn your playbook. You got 2 weeks to learn your playbook. I know preseason we ran vanilla stuff. I know we ran a lot of not really what we want other teams to see. Now the install comes. You kick the media out of your practice. You kick that. Nobody's in your practice now. You'll have a media time when you come out of practice. Now you're installing. 2 weeks, you're installing your game plans. What does Jacksonville got to do when you get into that red zone? That's what they got to install now. They got to install their red zone play. The advantage of trying to get people in. Is Robinson going to be back in time for the second, for the first regular season game? That's what they are hoping. They're hoping to get him back. So then we can get our thunder and lightning going with Travis Etienne. We can get some of the running game going. We have to get a big running game. We have to get what you want to do on offense is your minimum on first downs. You need to get 3 or 4 yards on a first down play. So when you get to third down, you've got a manageable position. You want to stay in the third and 1, third and 2, third and 3 at the most, or third and 5. You don't want to be at third and 20, third and 10, third and 12, because it gives a better chance for their defense to stopping you. So you want to be where you are dictating to their defense what you're going to play. And when you get in that third and short distance, you can either throw a pass play or a running play. So they got to think about if you're passing, if you're running. So they got a double trouble they got to think about. And the next thing you know, you can probably get a big play out of it. And that's if they think you're going to pass the ball, boom, you throw a run in there, boom. Then they're going to be like, okay, they got the first down. Now we need to do it. Now you got to start everything over again. And that's what Jacksonville has not done. Jacksonville gets these short plays, and then next thing you know, their offensive lineman either false start or they hold or they do or they throw an interception or they fumble the ball. And that's something that we have to cut down on. We really, really have to cut down on this coming up. So after the break here, we're going to take a break here after a few commercial breaks here. After that, we're going to come back and we'll break down a little bit more here of the Jacksonville Jaguars on Jags Nation. I am Ray Cruz. We'll be right back.
Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. 365, we making up plays. We talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. Sport all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. Network. We on top of our game. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays.
What did you say?
I said Kobe Bean Bryant has been overrated ever since he passed away.
Now, I'd say they could lose about 4, but I don't see them losing 5. You know what I mean?
Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays.
This is the Fox D Streaming Network. Register to come on our channel at foxdnetwork.com.
Welcome back to Jag Nation. I am Ray Cruz on the All Sports All Place Network. We just got back off a commercial break here. So we're going to get started here a little bit. We're going to talk up a little bit. We're going to break some of the numbers down, and I want to talk about Trevor Lawrence here coming up. So we're going to get ready to bring up some screenshots here on some of the things that I want to go over here tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up the screen. There we go. If you look at it right now, On this one here is the comparison what Trevor Lawrence has done during the preseason game when he played against the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Trevor Lawrence was 6'12" for 95 yards, 1 touchdown, and no interceptions. He played one possession into the second quarter, so he played all the first quarter into one possession. The second quarter, that's when he got that touchdown. The Steelers, he went 14 out of 21, 133 yards for no touchdowns and no interception. He played until halftime. So that was the dress rehearsal game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. That was in week 3 of their preseason. And then the total stats for the whole preseason, he was 20 out of 33, 228 yards, 1 touchdown, no interception. And the key on this one is he had no interceptions. He didn't turn the ball over. So he did a little bit better. He did struggle in the Pittsburgh game. He didn't get any touchdown passes. We did get it to the red zone in this one, and that really set the tone up for this, and that's why I want to go ahead and start the next presentation that I'm going to present here in a few minutes. But like I said, Trevor Lawrence looked pretty good in the preseason game against Cleveland. He looked okay against Pittsburgh. I think he did price well into that game. So Trevor needs to get some of the stuff that he needs to come back with, and he needs to improve a little bit more than what he did last year. I think it was really his rookie season. He didn't have a guidance into an NFL because you had a rookie coach in the NFL in Urban Myers, and he had a rookie quarterback. So Urban Meyer couldn't even predict what he was going to do. So I think this is really his going to be his first true season under an NFL seasoned coach, as in Doug Peterson, who actually played quarterback in the position. So I think he's going to be well off getting toolage now and improve his game play. And if he can get back to the style that he played when he was in college, he was that dominant force, that one of the lifetime quarterback in this position. So I like the way they are going to tee up and stuff like that with him. So, like I said, that Trevor Lawrence is he is good. I think he's going to be better, but we need him to be great. He has to be a great quarterback. He has to start climbing up that ladder. He has to climb up that ladder. He has to be in the top 10 of the quarterback position after his Jaguar career is over. I mean, if he could do that, that's going to be awesome. And, watching him grow up and stuff like that. So, I mean, hopefully we can get him going and getting everything else. His leadership is very, very tremendous. He's very good. He will tell you like it is. He's a great leader, great locker room guy. He leads by example. He's a hard worker. He's all the tangible that you need. He's tall. He's got the arm strength. He can run a little. He can run a little bit. I think that his accuracy is there. I think he just got to be. I think the offensive line really has to step up this year, and I think they can do that. I think the offensive line can protect him a little bit better. I think right now we are struggling on the right side of the offensive line, the right tackle position. They did a lot of platooning with the guy from Wisconsin and Taylor out of Florida. So I mean, once again, who's going to solidify that position? Or are they just going to have to platoon that position? And hopefully we can get some good play out of that position and keep it in. Cam Robinson on the other side is protecting them. I think Cam Robinson has done an excellent job of getting himself back into where he needs to be, and he needs to be not getting injury prone or doing all these bad mistakes, penalties. I think he has to be more disciplined too. And then if you look at it, the running back position, like I said, that we have Robinson and we have ETN. ETN looking great in the preseason game. He did make some good cuts, so his foot looked like he's healthier a little bit more. He's got the same. Looked like he's got a little bit, explosive. Could be right coming back. He has done a pretty good job and not, taking losses. I mean, he had one play I seen in the preseason game where he took that nice play. Looked like he was going to get hit behind the line of scrimmage and turned it down from a 4-yard loss to a 2-yard gain. So, I mean, he's very slippery. I think he's going to be out in the wide receiver. I think he's going to be good in the passing game. He's just got to get his hands develop a little bit, man, to catch the ball. I think that's the next step for him. After we see him run the ball a little bit here, I think the next step is getting his passing, catching so they can utilize him coming out of the backfield or putting him in some wide receiver, get some mismatch. And I think that's what the Jaguar needs to do. And I think too, we talk about that. We talk about the tight end too, in Ingram. Ingram has to stay healthy this year. If Ingram does, I think he's going to be something special. So I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of things that we're looking at going forward in this podcast. In this thing that we need to talk about, and the Jaguars need to do. So that's got to be a thing for the Jaguars really. Is just how they gonna install the offense this year? How they gonna do how they improve on? And what I'm talking about here. Let's go to my next slide here. I want to go to this one here. And let me go to this one right here. Let me see here. Here we go. So I mean, if you look at this one. If you look at this one right here, this is what I was talking about, the red zone. The Las Vegas Raiders game, none of the starters really played in that game. They went 1 for 1, they were 500 coming out of that. Cleveland Brown game, they were 1 for 3. They had 3 attempts in the red zone, only made 1 of them. Pittsburgh, same thing, 3 attempts in the red zone, they only made 1. Atlanta Falcons, they had 2 attempts, only made 1, so 50%. They finished at 4-9, an average of 4.44. That's not very good. That's not very good. In the red zones, you need to be in 65 to 70% range. When you get in that red zone, you got to score at least more times than you not. And you got to be up there every game. You have to be in that 70% mark. That 70 or 80, between the 70 and 80% mark. You're not going to score every time. But you need to score more than you don't. So that's another thing too. If you look at it too, that we got to improve that. We really didn't improve that in the preseason. If you look at the penalties, we improved a little bit there from the regular season. We had 6 penalties for 60 yards in the Vegas game. So, like I said, the starters didn't play in that game. Cleveland Brown game, the starters played all the way up to the thing. They only had 4 penalties for 34 yards. That's great because normally our games we have like 10 or 15 penalties a game. Really, a game we were like averaging double figures a game last year in penalties. In Pittsburgh, we had only 3 penalties for 30 yards. And then the Falcons, we had 5 penalties for 50 yards. So a total of 18 penalties for 174 yards during the preseason game, all 4 preseason games. I think that's pretty good. I think that's a low number. But we need to keep it lower than that. I think if we can keep the turnovers in areas that of this, I think that we can really dictate the area that we need to see and stuff. So that's something that we had to really look at coming into this area of expectation of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So that's something that we have to look at, and that's something that we have to really focus on and to improve these numbers here. And look at the turnovers here in the preseason. I mean, we know which Trevor Lawrence did not turn the ball over any of his starts at the preseason games, which was great. Turnovers, Las Vegas, look at fumble loss. We had 1 fumble loss in that game. We had no interception. Cleveland Browns, we had 1 fumble loss, 2 interceptions. That was all done by the backup quarterback in that play. That's how Cleveland got back into the game in that game. Pittsburgh, we had no fumble loss. We had 1 interception. So Atlanta Falcons, no fumble loss, but 2 interceptions. We had 2 fumble losses in the preseason, and we had 5 interceptions. So we had to cut that number down, which Trevor Lawrence was not into that RAM. So I mean, that's a good thing for our starter. But if our backup quarterback, if something we don't want nothing to happen. I'm just saying if a hypothetical if Trevor Lawrence gets hurt, then what we're going to see in the situations is that we gotta have a strong backup quarterback. That's got to be a point where he can manage the game and not lose the game. That's what the point of a backup quarterback is. If you lose the game, So that's something that we really have to figure out how we can change these thinking. I mentally think we have to change that really. That's the thing there. We have to really change our lack of mental a physical trait and an attitude in these ball games. So that's gonna have to be what kind of situation we're really thinking about. How are we gonna really prove this? How we really can um, be ourselves? How we could really change the dynamic of the Jacksonville Jaguars here. Um, let's go here. Let's take a little bit of some here on this recap of this ball game against the Atlanta Falcons here in this thing. Let's go back here. Let's see if I can bring up the drives here. Let's see here. This is not a Jags fan, but they will go 9-8. Yeah, I agree. I can see that. But the question is, how good can Jacksonville really be this year? Can they be that 9-8 team? I figured that they could, as long as they improve. And what I mean by improving is you went one for 16 last year. You need to improve that. You need to prove that. If you can build on that a little bit here. So that's going to be a major jump. That's going to be a really major jump for the Jacksonville Jaguars. If they can get that major things going into this area of our thinking. And what we're talking about the thinking is the turnovers. We got to keep our mental focus and cut out the mental mistakes. And that's the key to Jacksonville's success. If Jacksonville can get on this run and they can get in there and they get the mind thinking, and Trevor Lawrence is playing his mind's out, he's light us out. And then our running backs and our wide receivers are picking up their pace and getting separations, then the Jacksonville Jaguars can, move the ball down the field. They have shown it in the preseason that they can move the ball down the field. But now the game plan is going to be a little changed because now you're installing your offense. You're now installing the things that you want to try to do during the regular season, not the preseason style, but the vanilla offense that you see. They wouldn't run in their stuff. Their package, the different little package that they tried on the defensive side. So, I mean, that's going to be they got a hybrid defense type deal where they put these fast guys in there, and they did it in the Pittsburgh game and actually got to the quarterback in that ball game. So, I mean, they tried some nuances and some new things, and that's something that you got to credit Doug Peterson with. And, Urban Meyer didn't come up with these things. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm a season ticket holder for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I've been a season ticket holder since 2011. And you can tell the mindsets of the fans with their optimism, with their coming into the season. That wasn't there when Urban Meyer was here. They did not show the same intensity where they're showing now when Doug Peterson's here. The atmosphere down there has changed dramatically. It's changing daily. It's getting the fans involved. It's getting the season ticket holders involved. There are being more transparency with the season ticket holders than when Urban Meyer was here in the past. They're now including some of the season ticket holders into some of the stuff and seeing some of the the outbreaks and stuff that we didn't see. They're changing the culture. I mean, they're improving everything. They're building a new $6.4 million facility. Their new practice field over where the old practice field was. That's why they've been practicing in the high school. They've been practicing inside their indoor stadium, indoor practice field in the amphitheater. So they've got this big compound. They're changing the office. They're going to move the office out of the TIA Bank. Right now, all the players' operation office is inside TIA Bank field. So they're trying to get them out of there, and then they're going to move all that out so they can make some additions to the stadium. And that's something that the NFL wants Jacksonville to do. They have to upgrade their stadium, and and that's going to be coming up down the pipe here sooner or shortly after they get everything out. So what they're trying to do is get all the main office out of the stadium, and they're going to probably change that dynamic a little bit down in the stadium and stuff like that. So they had somebody come into the stadium and look at the stadium, and the stadium is structurally sound to make some additional upgrades. And one of the upgrades that the people and the fans are really need here in Florida is the heat, the humidity, and the people that are sitting on the east side of the stadium is always in the sun. That's where my seat's at. We get sun left and right. The people on the west side, the sun comes up over on the middle, and then they're behind them the whole time. So they're a little bit on the colder side. But when you come over to the visiting side, I like sitting on the visiting team side so I can heckle them. That's one of my things. I like to heckle the visiting team. So I mean, it's love and fun and war and games and stuff like that. So that's a little bit of my tidbits for the game. But if you look at something here, I've been going through some of the stuff that they've been really talking about here, and one article I found is the thought behind some of our leadership, and it's like some of our leadership in there, and you never see a rookie really in Trevon Walker. He's really what can I say? He's really picked up a leadership role. It looks like he's real outspoken. He's really tentative. He has shown out in every preseason game. He has shown up in every preseason game. He's shown up on the film. He's shown up in everything. But what I mean is, when I'm talking about leadership, is something like this. Headlines I read on the Bleacher Report was Jacksonville Jaguar rookie linebacker Trevon Walker showers Devin Lloyd with praises after his first practice. How many times you see that ever a rookie, somebody comes in the league, doesn't, a rookie don't want to show leadership, but this guy's picked up the leadership role. He's showing his leadership out there. Devin, he's praising his teammates here in Jacksonville. You haven't really seen that too many times, except for when they first started out with Boselli, Burnell, Jimmy Smith, Keenan McCardell, Fred Taylor. That's the atmosphere of Jacksonville Jaguars that we want to see again. We want to see the team camaraderie. We want to see these things come out in the media sometimes showing that, they are liking each other. Not really. I mean, a lot of turmoil here in Jacksonville, the last 3 or 4 years. I mean, the 2017, like I said, the 2017 season was one of the great seasons that we had in a long time. But then turn around the next following season, then you go back to your same old Jaguars. You go from that incredible run all the way down to, winning 1 game, 2 games, 4 games here, and then you're back to 1 game again. But that's what the culture is here is nice. Got to get out of the losing culture. We got to get out of the losing culture going into a winning culture. And that's what Doug Peterson has addressed it, and that's what he has sent out. That's what he has put in our season ticket, newsletter. So that's something that the Jacksonville Jaguars are starting to build a relationship with their fans, starting to build a little bit inside with the community a little bit more. Pressing down and here in Jacksonville, they got a big project coming up, right now. You got the new football facility. They got a July J project just finally got approved by the city council. They're going to building up over. We have a whole thing called the old shipyard. They've been working to get the hazmat out of that area. Once that hazmat is cleared, and they said they can go ahead and start building. He's going to be building. Chacon's going to be building a 4-star hotel right across the street from the stadium. So that's going to bring a little bit more attraction into Jacksonville. They're trying to build that downtown area. It's been deserted for a while. They've been cleaning it out, changing some of the buildings around, upgrading some of that, putting some new buildings in. There's one project that New York guy is coming in from New York. He wants to put New York style apartment centers. So that's going to be a big sign. I mean, Jacksonville is growing, and the Jacksonville Jaguars wants to be a part of this. And when people in the national media said, "Oh, Jacksonville is going to be moving to London," that hasn't even come up. So John Suggs came in and he says, realistically, how many games you think the Jags will win this year? 5 or 6? To me, I think right now way Jacksonville is looking, the way the schedule is looking, I can see them probably winning round 6, maybe 7. I picked them to be 8-8 this year. I really think they have a chance to be 8-8. But the question, like when I say 8-8, is they have to have a lot of stuff going right for them. First of all, not being injured. Second of all, taking care of the ball. Third of all, not these minimal mistakes that they always have at a certain key point of the game that you're driving the ball, and then next thing you know, you can get a holding call and you set back 10 yards, and that stalls your offense out. So, I mean, that really is a lot of things you have to play here. Trevor Lawrence is going to be a way better quarterback than he was last year. I really think he's turning up a little bit. I think he's learned. I think the game is starting to get slower for him. And like I said, when you're a rookie here the first year, the game is so fast. It's so speed because you're playing against real men. You're playing not against, college players. You're playing against older guys, mature guys, and the game is a lot faster. So it takes that rookie 1 to 2 years. You want him to be a fast kind of learner. You want him to progress last. You don't want him to last and say it takes him 4 years because average time it takes a quarterback 4 years to acclimate himself into the realm of the NFL and get at speed here. Let's go to John Suggsy again. He's got another good question here. The question is, if the Jags don't win more than 8 games the next 2 years, do you think he will be looking at it like a Justin Fields? Well, that's going to be a lot of issues here too. If I don't think he will. I think he's going to be I think Trevor Lawrence is just going to be Trevor Lawrence himself. We don't want to really put in too much pressure and trying to get him comparison to somebody. Right now, he is learning the game. He is learning the NFL style of game. Now that rookie year really couldn't count for him because he had a rookie coach. He didn't understand the NFL lingo. Now he's going through another phase where he's now got a head coach who is now NFL experience, who's got a Super Bowl ring, and now he's learning the real nuance, the thing from the NFL, what an NFL quarterback should be, what an NFL coaching staff should be. This is where the game plan is. Now he's going to be more involved into the game planning, and to me, I think he has to learn. He has to take a page out of like Peyton Manning's book. Peyton Manning will sit there hours and hours and look at game film, study the defense. That's what he has to pick up now. He has to pick that thing up now. He has to pick up game film. He has to pick up where he hit the tendencies of the defense. He's got to learn that as an ongoing. And Doug Peterson has been dressed that daily, every day with him. He says, you have to study game film. Sometimes he'll study game film with Doug Peterson so that he can point out what he needs to look at. So he needs to be in that. I mean, he learns the playbook fast. I mean, I can understand. I see that. But we really don't know what kind of style offense that Jaguars is going to run because the preseason games, like I said, have been vanilla. The offense has not been very dynamic. You don't see too many different plays when they run. Now you got the 2 weeks involved. So you got to see now with the install of the new offenses, and like I said, I had a slide up there showing that the red zone, that's the key. This preseason game, they didn't have the red zone offense intact. They were 44% average into the red zone, and that's not what you need to be. You need to be in that 70 to 80 between the 70 and 85 mark in that red zone time and time again. You cannot be in that low 40s. The high 40s and the low down what Jacksonville was. I figured it out during the whole preseason. They were 0.44 into the red zone, under 500 in the red zone, under 50%. So I mean that's not typically what you want to see. All these great NFL teams are probably like about 70 to 85% times the scoring. And when I'm not talking about scoring, I'm talking about touchdowns. I'm not talking about field goals. We have to quit doing this. We have gone too many times and not getting that touchdown, and we kick field goals. You cannot win very many games of just kicking field goals after field goals after field goals without scoring touchdowns. We have to put touchdowns. Now, I can say we score a touchdown field goal and then score another touchdown field goal. I can understand that part of the game. But the part of the game, that you don't want to see is field goal, field goal, field goal, field goal. Other teams got touchdown, touchdown, touchdowns. You see what I'm saying? Because our defense gets so tired because our stalls in this thing here. 8 per year for the next 8. I mean, realistically, I think Doug Peterson and probably the next maybe I give Doug Peterson. I like to give my coaches when they come in here at least 3 or 4 years. Urban Meyer's just a different animal. He had to go. I mean, he was bad on the outside of the football field. I mean, what team goes to Cincinnati? You don't travel back with your team. You stay up there, and the next thing you know, you getting videotaped, getting grinded on by a woman in your own restaurant. That just was a shy show from bad decision to getting him anyway. I mean, not too many coaches come out of high school, come out of the college ranks and be good in the pros. I mean, Jimmy Johnson did, but he was with the Cowboys and they drafted good. That's gonna be the key too. How Jacksonville in the next 2 to 3 years, how they draft. How does their scouting department scout these college players? And that was a big time too here in Jacksonville. I mean, the scouts in Jacksonville wasn't doing their job very well. I mean, we got players that they seemed like, oh yeah, they're gonna be good, and next thing you know, boom, they're not. And in that one draft, we picked a punter in the 3rd round. I mean, you could get a punter in the 6th or 7th round. One year we picked a punter in the 3rd round. I mean, who picks a punter in the 3rd round? We did. That has to go. Our GM has to sit down and they have to look. The scouting departments, they have to talk. We have to scout these players that are coming in the next few years. You know, we don't want to be the number 1 pick again. We don't want to be in a lottery pick. You know, we want to be a team that is consistently getting playoffs after playoffs after playoffs after playoffs. Hopefully leading up to that first appearance in the Super Bowl. That's got to be the key here in Jacksonville. So to answer your question is, in the next 2 years, do you think he will look like a Justin Fields? I think he could be better than Justin Fields. I think he has that mentality. I think his work ethic is that mentality. What's going to set him apart is, can he look at the game film and figure it out what the defense is doing to him? Can he recognize the coverage of the NFL teams? If they're in one coverage, you know, bluffing them out of another coverage. That's going to take progressions. That's going to take him learning. That's going to take him looking at the game film, studying what his mistakes and his tendency is. He has to minimize the effect of what they need to do on offense and hopefully help his offensive line. So I hope I answered your question there, John, on these 2 or 3 questions you had. So if you want to get into it, get some questions there, and I'll answer your question for you. You can send it to me. We're going to take another break here. We'll be back on Jags Nations. I am Ray Cruz. I am your host. We'll be back after these messages.
Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. Great high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. Sport all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. Network. We on top of our game. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays.
What did you say?
I said Kobe Bean Bryant has been overrated ever since he passed away.
Now, I'd say they could lose about 4, but I don't see them losing 5. You know what I mean?
Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays.
is the Fox D Streaming Network. Register to come on our channel at foxdnetwork.com.
Welcome back to Jags Nation. This is all about the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm your host, Ray Cruz. We're on the All Sports, All Plays Network. We're going to go ahead and talk about what my next topic is Jaguar head coach Doug Peterson on the challenge of the final cuts. This is going to be an interesting thing here coming up between now and Tuesday at 4 o'clock. We'll break it down to you, and we'll have all the cuts for you on the Jags Nation on Wednesday nights at 7 to 8. That's the show that we go and use to get you ready for Sunday's action for the Jacksonville Jaguars against their next opponent. This right now we have only about 2 weeks left before the first NFL game on 9/11 for the Jacksonville Jaguars against the Washington Commanders. Right now, the Jaguars are getting ready to install their offense, what they're going to be using during the regular season, added more to the playbook. The first thing is, like I've been saying, is the red zone. We have to take care of the red zone, and that's going to be what we need to figure out, how we can take care of the red zone. But an interesting article that over the time that I have seen here, the Atlanta Falcons, will be the final chance for the Jaguars. We all know that. But the thing is they cut down the 53-man roster. That's going to be who's going to be the team that we want to see to cut down on this roster. Right now, they dropped from 80 players. They got to go from 80 players to 53, with a remarkable burden for both the team and the athletes that are make up as the components. But head coach Doug Peterson is actually aware of the facts and told the media Thursday about the challenge, eliminate so many potential playmakers from the team's pool of talent. He also explained it's hard. This is a quote from Doug Peterson. It's hard. He explained for cutting the process down. His hit hardness part of the business, trying to get down from 80 to 53-man roster. There's going to be a lot of guys going out of here. I mean, a lot of guys are going to lose jobs. Did they put enough on their highlight film to try to get picked up by another team that fit their skill set? And a lot of things too here. You get a lot of players that come in here that don't fit their scheme. So I mean, that's going to be the key for him. Does these people fit his scheme? Do these people really fill his needs? And does the one person I was talking about, Shaq Quartermain, is he going to be part of this 53-man roster? I mean, the first preseason game against Cleveland, he missed like 5 or 6 different tackles. He missed a lot of he was out of position a lot. And that's got to be a key. He minimized that against a little bit of Pittsburgh. Did he come back in that game in Pittsburgh? That's a lot of things that you have to look at here in this time of sequence and stuff like that. So that's going to be a challenge here. That 53-man roster that actually cut down the process they have to go through, the game films they have to look at. They have to look at all the preseason games. One thing about this preseason, they had an extra preseason game up, when they played the Hall of Fame game. So they had a good another game film. They can look at these players down on the roster. The Atlanta Falcon game, they can look at, have a lot of players they can look at on that game film, and they have a lot of game film in the Cleveland in the second, from the second possession in the second quarter all the way up to the fourth quarter. Same thing in the Pittsburgh game, you have all the way up from the third, everything from the third to the fourth quarter in that game. So who jumps out on these rosters and stuff, and that's going to be a very interesting concept because if you look at the in this Atlanta Falcon game, there was a couple of people that really jumped out in this expectation here. This one article that they have is like a halftime thing here. They said the Jacksonville Jaguars final game against the Falcons was started with a bang of when third-year safety Josh Thomas came down with an interception on the first play from scrimmage. But they entered halftime down 14-12 in the hopes of securing their first expedition win. So I mean that's a little bit of thing. They had great days of practice up there. They said joint practice, very competitive edge between both teams. So it was very competitive. That's another thing. That's another thing up there too. You want to hear stuff like this about Jacksonville. You want to hear them being competitive at somebody else's place in scrimmage, or practicing with them. You didn't hear that all about that last year. You didn't hear about them being competitive. You didn't hear about them having an edge and stuff. This culture is changing. I'm telling you, you have to brace. You have to take time. And the fans, that's what the Jaguar fans have to realize. It's not going to be changed overnight because they're in a lot of bad position and a lot of need on this team. And it's going to happen through this draft, next draft, the draft after that. Jacksonville could be a playoff team within 1 to 2 years. We as a fan, we want to be sooner. We were hoping this year, but you got to be realistic about the thing is you got a new head coach, you got to change the culture, you got to do a lot of stuff. You got to take the team from being turnover prone, happy, to not being turnover prone. You got to be a team that is not a non-disciplined team to a disciplined team. It's a lot of issues that you have to face here in this thing here. So that's a lot of issues going on through these times and tribulations and things that you really need to talk about here for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, you have to put it as a fan. You got to stop listening to national media because national media is just going to be national media. You got to start listening around the local media. You got to read the Jaguars.com. You got to listen to the Jaguars live podcast they have during the day and stuff like that. Jags Nation coming up. This is only our second episode. Third episode here. We started last Sunday. Had an episode on Wednesday. Today is the third episode here of the Jags Nation. So we started building a little commentary. We're trying to get people to come involved and hopefully fans will start listening to us instead of national media because we're going to tell you the truth with what's going on in the field area here in Jacksonville. I live in Jacksonville. I breathe Jaguar Nation down here. I go by the stadium a lot. I'm an Uber driver around Jacksonville. I'm getting people in my cars, in Jacksonville, and they be talking about the Jaguars. I wear my Jaguar hat. They be talking about, the Jaguar and stuff. That's what we wanted to see here. But we don't want them get in the car and then we get somebody talking about the Cowboys. I'm tired of seeing people come to the stadium wearing the Cowboys jersey or wearing the a different team jersey. I want to see team people come in here. We get our fans in this stadium. We get more Jag fans than visiting team fans. Right now, the visiting team fans outnumber some of the Jaguar fans in my section. We want to turn that around. We want to have more Jaguar fans and less visiting team fans and really bring back the true home field advantage that Jacksonville could have here in Jacksonville at the TIAA Bank Field. If you get the whole crowd, that one playoff game against Buffalo here, the crowd was electrified, even though it was a field goal game and we won by that field goal margin. The atmosphere in that ball game was great. It was loud. The fans stayed past halftime. The fans stayed to the end of the fourth quarter. The fans stayed on what they call the fifth quarter. That's a lot of issues that now the fans are leaving at halftime of the game because last year's game they were leaving at halftime. That's the product of the field, and that was Urban Meyer's vision. And his vision wasn't that great. The atmosphere wasn't great. Now you see hearing fans come in and they stay. Like the Pittsburgh game, we stayed. Even though a preseason game, the fans stayed there because that game was getting good. That game was competitive. It was going back and forth, different scenarios, heartbreaking. The field goal miss was heartbreaking. The fans were loud. They were hoping, and then Eric took out. But hey, look. It's part of the process. It's the process that Jacksonville has to learn what they need to be learning. And that's going to be a lot of things that is going to be coming up here in the next couple of days. That's going to improve Jacksonville. Either they cut people that are not in the right of their system, or they're going to have to get rid of some of these people that are competitive. That's just the nature of the beast here. We're talking about NFL product teams here. And you're going to have to show every day in practice. You have to show up every day in practice. You do great in practice. It changes over to the football field. It changes over to game day. Some people don't practice good, and next thing you know, the lights come on, boom, they're in another level. I mean, that's things that you got to think about too here in Jacksonville. This the mentality with the where they're signing, they're going here. Their features, there a lot of exclusives, and that's what they're talking about. The culture and all that stuff. I mean, I've been harping the culture here the last 3 episodes of this game, but that's what my mindset is. I'm trying to help you out here a little bit here to see, telling you that we got fans in there. Well, I see on some of these groups, they're bad. Oh, we look like another Jaguar team, blah blah blah. But I mean, you gotta be standing your ground. You gotta, I understand your feelings. I understand the heartbeat. I mean, I feel them too. But you got to understand realistically, we went from Urban Myers to a laughingstock team. Now Doug Peterson's coming here and he's putting his stamp into it. And now his stamp is a little bit more. And then you're getting to feel in the atmosphere in the stadiums. You're getting to feel the fans are starting to get behind this team. They want to get behind this team. They want to be are tired to come to the stadium and not sitting there for the whole entire game, and by halftime they're getting blown out and they're leaving. We don't want to do that. We want to be there the whole time. We want to be yelling. We want to say, to me as a fan, when you go to stadiums, you want to holler so loud so the next day you're hoarse. Because the team is doing, if you lose, I want to lose on a competitive way. I want to win on a competitive way. I want to lose. If we lose, I want to know we had a chance to win the game. Not a chance that, you get blown out, you ain't going to win the game. We know that happens sometimes, but it happens more than not here in Jacksonville. It happens a lot. And we want to stay and be competitive. Like the 2017 season, we were competitive. The fans showed up. The fans not going to show up if you're losing all the time. It's just the nature of the beast. It's just the way the program. I showed up every game. I stayed till time goes 0-0-0 on the clock. I paid my price for my ticket. I'm gonna stay there and watch the game, even though we're getting blown out and you hear the other fans laughing at you. But I stayed and supported the team, and that's what Doug Peterson wants. He wants fans. He's been harping on the fans. He's like, "You come to the bank. We're gonna try to give you a better product." And I think the atmosphere down in the bank. I think he's really showing the atmosphere. I think he's really doing it. And you can feel the vibe when you walk in that stadium now. You're walking into an NFL stadium. You as a fan, you have that ability. Like, are they gonna be competitive this game? They're gonna stay in this game, and we're gonna have a chance to win the game at the end. 3 or 4 years ago, you don't have that feeling here in Jacksonville, and now that feeling is getting bright. It's now really thriving towards that area of complacency, of changing over. You can tell the fans are going to get behind this team with Doug Peterson here, and that's the real value of this of the change of coaching and the change of the philosophy. And now we're going to get the install here in the next couple of weeks. Come Monday, they're probably going to start to do the install of their offense on the defensive side. They're going to install their defense. So, I mean, you don't want to give up too much stuff, what you're going to do during the preseason. And then now the regular season starts. Now you can catch teams off guard in the first game of the season because they really don't know what this coaching staff is really going to put up, what kind of offense style, what kind of scheme they're going to run. It's going to be off throw because you can't go back and look at last year's tape because the offense is going to be totally different. So, I mean, the first game of the season, you can catch somebody off guard. And like I said, if you go up to Washington, D.C., over to Landover, Maryland, play the Washington Commanders, if you get in that thrive, you get into that field, and you come out of that victory, even though it's the Washington Commanders, I understand. But still, if you showed up and played that game and you come out with going 1-0. That's a great feeling. You don't know what that could happen to a team that had a losing culture. Next thing you know, they win a game. Boom. Next thing you know, you got a second game coming up. Boom, they win that one. They're 2-0. And then in that culture, you start winning. Now you're figuring out how to win. That's got to be the mindset, because you got to figure out how to get points on the board, more than 3 points. We need the touchdowns. We need to be in the red zone. We need to be in that touchdown. We need to stop them on defense. We need to have it. We need to have. Still, us having all the empty possessions that we had in the last 3 or 4 years to give other teams to score on us. We need to turn that around. We need to have the other teams have 3 and out more. That's got to be the barometer that you have to set for your team. The Jaguars defense has to play better. The offense has to stay on the field and get drive to let the defense rest more. Because if our defense plays over half the game, the fatigue's going to set in, and that's going to mess up everything. Cause a little bit more injuries on the defense. Our offense and the defense have to go hand in hand. Our defense has to give our offense short field position. Our short field position, that offense had to turn into a touchdown. If they hold them to an empty possession, they have to take at least a long drive, get some time on the clock, and end with some points. That's the game of football. Defense is trying to keep you not scoring, but the game of object of football is you stop the other team, you take advantage of it, you get that empty possession, you go score for a touchdown. 7 points would do more momentum-wise than kicking a field goal all the time. But we know the field goal is going to be involved in some of the areas of the football game. But you want to score more touchdowns than you do kicking field goals. Here in Jacksonville, we kick more field goals than we do touchdowns. And that you can't win games really like that unless your defense is really stout, like the Baltimore area when they won the Super Bowl. They had a Trent Dilfer that ran the system to, time management of the clock and not turn the ball over. And then that defense stormed to give them short field positions, and they scored touchdowns like that. That's what Jacksonville needs. Jacksonville needs to get that defense back involved like they did in 2017, and turn this losing culture around and make it a winning culture. And then you're gonna get more fans in. You're gonna start outnumbering the visiting team. You're gonna start getting your real, true home field advantage. And Jacksonville ain't had that in a long time. A long time. Jacksonville wants to be the team that you'd be talking about on the news, saying, "Hey, you go to Jacksonville, it's gonna be a tough place to play because the fans are rowdy, the fans are getting behind the team." And that's gonna be the question. You as a fan and as a team that you like, as the Jaguars like, is you want to be loud where the other team can't hear their cadence. And there'd be a lot of offsetting penalties on that false start penalties on the other team, and that's the thing that Jacksonville needs. Jacksonville needs to get the crowd behind them. And when you get a crowd behind them, that makes the players play even harder. You want to be motivated and you want to make them play harder. You want them to be their stymie. They want to be their, you want to be I'm trying to think what I want to see here. Let's see here. Let's see. Do they beat Washington in week 1? I believe they can. I believe they can beat. I think they can beat the Washington Commanders. I really do. I think if they play their game and they can beat they're in position of week 1, I believe they can do it. I think they're on their way of the ability to turn this thing around and would see what they can do. But the key is in that game is they can't turn the ball over. They got to win the time possession. They got to score touchdowns to get in the red zone instead of kicking field goals. But we know Washington Commanders defense and Chase Young and their team has got a tough defense, but their offense is lacking. So that's what Jacksonville needs to pick up in this ball game. We need to pick up our offense and score on this defense. So I think they can beat Washington Commanders game 1. Cool. Seeing this is grew up in Otega Forest. Yes, I did a lot of Ubering over there in the Otega area. And are you from Jacksonville? I am originally from North Carolina. I moved here when I was in the military in 2010, and I have lived in Jacksonville since 2010. I became a season ticket holder to Jacksonville in 2011. So I am in the area, and I do a lot of Ubering around the area, and I get a lot of Jag fans in the car, and I get a lot of other team fans in the car, and I get some people to get in the car and laugh because I'm wearing my Jaguar stuff. So yeah, it's got to be what it is. You got to take the grain with the salt, But you still got to support the team, and you can't worry about the other side, other people laughing at you and stuff like that. Sometimes I go to North Carolina, I wear my Jaguar stuff. I go see my sister. I wore my Jaguar stuff in Dallas when we went to Dallas and lost 65 to, I know it was whatever, but I had a great time. I had a good time down there. I got to do Jerry World. We took a tour of the AT&T Stadium. Got a lot of good tidbits in there. I'll give you one tidbit. There's no Pittsburgh steel inside that stadium. They all imported that steel out of Germany. Jerry Jones didn't want no Pittsburgh steel in his stadium, so that's one little interesting tidbit. And then we got to sit in his perch area on that stadium. But yeah, I wore my Jaguars. I've downloaded some of the pictures. I got some of the pictures where you show my Jaguars in AT&T Stadium, standing on the star on the 50-yard line of the stadium. Like I said, I'll download some of them, and I'll throw some pictures up there, showing that, hey, I went in public with my Jaguar stuff on in other teams' venues. But yeah, like I said, this is good. This is going to be a year that I think this could be a change. This could be a start in the right direction. Like I said, if you want to see if a team really improves, you will need to improve on that record that you had last year. I mean, if you pick up 3 or 4 wins, that's a win for you because you didn't have that 3 or 4 wins last year. Then the next year you pick up, say if you win 4 games this year, just saying if you win 4 games this year, next year you want to see them win 7 games. And then in that following year, you want to see them get up near 10, 8, 9. But what you really want them to see is you want to start seeing them trending to the right direction and going into the playoffs, being a playoff team every year, being that team that gets in the playoffs, be that team that you're not the team that you don't want to draft number 1 all the time, like we did the last 2 years. We need to start building this culture step by step, and I think the way Doug Peterson is doing it is the right way, the right direction, because he had to build that culture back in Philadelphia when they won the Super Bowl. He had to build them back into a winning franchise. He had to turn them ability and turning them into a Super Bowl contender. He did that. So he has the fortitude to know what they need to do to turn Jacksonville around. But the question is, are our players going to be disciplined enough? And I think they're getting there. I think they are, because we only had 18 penalties in this preseason game out of 4 games for 174 total yards. I mean, we had more than that in 2 games last year in regular season. And I don't want to harp on sometimes with the ref here comes. Sometimes the referees come here, the officials come here, and they be not up to par. I think they figured Jacksonville's got a different playbook than most other teams. I mean, there have been a lot of missed calls on the home team here in Jacksonville. We have to turn that around. We have to start getting the home cooking. And the only way you're going to get the home cooking is you become that team. You become that dominant team. You become that team that wants to win, that are going to win every game. That's going to come out and be a winning mentality. But we are not there yet. So, yeah, I saw Gilbert's first start in Charlotte, and we lost representing with the Jag jersey. Yeah, I've been there too. I've been, in that situation. I went to the last time the Carolina Jaguars played the Panthers, and I went up to Charlotte. wear my Jag gear and into the stadium. And, I've seen some of my friends that I grew up with, and they be like laughing at you. But, and I tell you with a grain of salt like this, hey, if I represent a team, I'm representing full 100%. I don't care if you're a win, lose, or not. I'm gonna represent the team. I'm gonna represent the team I'm rooting for. To represent the team I'm paying for. Hey, I'm gonna tell you, I paid $2,100 for my season tickets. I've been paying them since 2011. And here in Jacksonville, my name is on the wall for over 12 years now. So, I give my money to the Jaguars, win, lose, or draw. I stay out in that heat. I stay in that heat from first quarter all the way down to the fourth quarter with 0-0-0 on the clock. And then I go walk out and catch the bus and go back to my car and go home. So that's a lot of things that we really, really look at, and really the fortitude and the magnitude here in Jacksonville. And this team has really got to involve itself. It's got to, like I said, you can't harp on it enough. Red zone offense has to be red zone offense. Our defense has to keep the other team out of the red zone. Hold the other team to field goals while we're scoring touchdowns. Let's reverse what we've been doing to ourselves and make the other team do it now. If we can turn those around where we're scoring touchdowns and they're kicking field goals, you have a better chance of winning the ball game. And that first game against the Washington Commanders is going to be the barometer of what this team can really do and what this team is really capable. And if Trevor Lawrence has took the next step up. I understand everybody's thinking, oh, the mystery of the second year slump is that it's going to hit Trevor Lawrence. Technically, I think that already hit him first season under Urban Myers. I think he learned from that. I think he's going to be a better quarterback. I think Doug Peterson's going to sit there and teach him how to be a film studier. I think he's going to learn how to watch the game film and take the tendencies that he needs to take and watch what the defense is doing and try to make him a better player. That's the only thing you need to do. You need to be disciplined. You need to be a hard worker. And I think Trevor is that hard worker. Let's see here. Tim Jones makes the 53-man. And I heard the practice squad is now up to 16 players. Are all of them accessible to other teams at will? Yes. I think Tim Jones, between his performance against Atlanta, I think he can make that 53-man roster. I think it's going to be him making it. I think Laviska Shenault, he might be on his way out because Tim Jones had a phenomenal game, and he's been having good games all season, preseason long. So I think he could make the 53-man roster. I heard the practice squad is up to 16. Are them accessible to other teams at will? Yes, if the other team signs them, they have to put them on their 53-man. They have to make a room on their 53-man roster. They can't go back to a practice squad. So that's the rule that happened last year. They said if you pick a man up from the other team's practice squad, you have to put them on your 53-man roster. And I think you have to be there for at least 7 games, I think. Don't quote me on that. I know from the thing of the 53-man roster, I think Tim Jones is going to make it. But I think the other thing is the 16 players. I think if another team comes crawling to that practice squad player, they have to put them on their 53-man roster. And I think they have to be there, I think, for 7 games. I think. But I know for the fact is they have to automatically go to the 53-man roster of the team that comes and gets them. So, yeah, I think I answered your question on that, on both of those. I think Tim Jones is going to make it. It'd be surprising if he didn't make it because I think he was on that bubble, and I think the Atlanta game put him over that bubble. I think he could be an asset. I think he's really developing to a skill that we really need. And if Laviska Shenault doesn't do what he needs to do, I think he's going to be gone. So I think the hamstring is a little bit issue with Sonat this time in the preseason stuff. So I think this is going to be I think this could be a make or break season for him if he does make the 53-man roster in some biscuit Sonat. If he doesn't do any good, then he could be gone. But probably by the time halfway through the season before the deadline cut, the trade cut. So that's a lot of issues, a lot of things you need to really think about. And then we need to figure out who's going to be on that 16 player practice squad. Somebody that's got to really help us. If we have a player to go down, then he have to step in. So that's a lot of things that Doug Peterson's got to go. Do we go out and keep the certain people on that team, the 53-man roster? Do we when we let these people go? Do we sign them to the practice squad and keep the nuances that they know a little bit about the offense? But still, again, that's going to be the thing, and that's what you want. That's what we really want here in Jacksonville is we want competitiveness. We want to be a team that we had these players, but we had to let you go because we didn't have room on the roster. You're letting people. We want to be a team that you get these players here in Jacksonville, and we want to be another player in the free agency too. We want to be a team where people that want to leave the other team come to Jacksonville, come to Florida, play here. I mean, we already got a good asset here. I mean, we don't pay state taxes like everybody else in certain states. So, I mean, that should be a one incentive for them. They save some money. They don't have to pay all this, state taxes that they had to pay in other places. I mean, and then you get 2 seasons here. You get like a little mild winter, and then back to spring. Well, actually 3 seasons because you get mild winter, and then you get a little bit of spring. And then boom, you get a lot of summer. That's why I like it down here too, because I don't like being in the cold. Because I'm about 50 years old, and I have arthritis in my knees, and if I'm in the cold all the time, my knees starts aching and hurting. So, that's why this area's weather for me is perspective in this area. So, I mean, I really like it here, and I think that Jacksonville Jaguars has got to be the team that make people come here, make free agency be, hey, I want to go to Jacksonville. Have players start knocking on our door. So we're trying to go to their door and knocking on there, say, hey, you come to Jacksonville. We want to sell ourselves on the field. And the only way you can get top tier players to come here is you have to start winning year after year after year after year. If you have a winning coach, you have a better chance to get some of these big name players to come here. And that's what Jacksonville really needs. Some big time players to come to Jacksonville. We can build that reputation. Right now, our reputation around the league is you come to Jacksonville, you lose. Basically, that's the reputation that we have around the football, around the NFL. You go to Jacksonville, you're gonna be a loser. We want to change that now. We want to say, hey, you come to Jacksonville, you're gonna be a winner. You come to Jacksonville, you're gonna make a playoff. You come to Jacksonville, if you want to win a Super Bowl. Yeah, I'm a realistic kind of guy. To me, you ask me, I have two hats I wear. I have a fan hat, and then I have a sports mentality. I have to be, a really biased area type deal. But I tell you straight up, if you ask the fan of me, yeah, we're going to Super Bowl every year. That's simple. That's the way I think. But if you ask me as a podcaster, talking about sports, being realistic, I see this team go 8-8. The worst I see this team go is lose 4-12. I don't see them being 1-16, 1-15, 1-16. I don't see that. I see them gradually going up. I have a high expectation that, like I said, I have really high expectation. 8-8 is a great season for me. Following year, now you got to win more games than you lose. You can't beat 500. Once you make that 500 mark, you got to be over that 500. from now on. Don't drop back down to the old Jaguars. You make that 8-8. Next season, you need to be 9-8 or 9-7. Next season after that, you can be 10-5. Or, you got to start winning double digits. You got to start figuring out this culture, and this starts now. The Jaguars have to start what they need to do coming up in this thing. I want to go ahead and take one more break. I'll be right back. You're listening to Jags Nation on the All Sports, All Place Network.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making up plays. We talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
What did you say?
I said Kobe Bean Bryant has been overrated ever since he passed away.
Now, I'd say they could lose about 4, but I don't see them losing 5. You know what I mean?
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
This is the Fonx D Streaming Network. Register to come on our channel at fonxdnetwork.com.
Welcome back to Jag Nation on the All Sports, All Place. I am your host, Ray Cruz. We got about a few more minutes here left on this telecast. So we're going to move on right along on here. We're going to talk about some of the things that we look at here. The Jaguars' backup defense looks every bit as dominant as starters. That's what some people are saying about us. The kicker, James McCourt, needs strong showing in the second half, maintain thing. That's another thing too, is our place kicker. We have some trouble with the place kicker. We have some, kicking woes in some of these preseason games. Like the Pittsburgh game, we had a chance to win the game, and we missed a 45-yard field goal wide to the right. And that really upset the fans, because the fans were into that game. I mean, we were there. I mean, both fan base was into it. You think that, Pittsburgh won the Super Bowl the way their fans were acting after they missed that field goal. But I mean, if you look at the, certain things in this area of expectation, is we need to figure out our place kicking. We need to, hopefully this James McCourt guy is going to be the real deal. He would just, he's 2 for 3 on field goals in the first half. So I mean, we didn't score any in the third or fourth quarter in the Atlanta Falcons game. We didn't score any. So I think he has a great opportunity. So I think, this has got to be a thing. We got to see what McCourt can do here to bounce back. So that's going to be the barometer of this thing here. Is we got to make sure our field goal kicker is up to par. We got to make sure that our red zone. These are some of the keys you got to look for in that first game of the season. Is, can we score in the red zone? If we get in that red zone, can we score? Or we're going to have to settle for a field goal. Can we put pressure on the quarterback of the Commanders? That's going to be, can we bring back Sack Nation? Can we bring back Saxonville? Can we bring back that squad, that Saxonville squad? Can we get that on this defense like we did in 2017 when we became Saxonville? That's got to be the question. Can we get to that quarterback? Can we make them force themselves into some turnovers? If we can minimize, if we can get turnovers in position to win these ball games, and have the other team have a lot of empty possession, we score touchdowns or we score points. If we can if we have to take a long drive, can we take a long drive down the field and put the ball into the end zone? So driving the ball down to the field and then we have to kick a field goal. We want to put pressure on the other team. And by putting pressure on the other team, what I mean by that is we want to get pressure on the quarterback. We want them to be in panic mode because we took the lead on them, and we took a 14-point lead on them. We want them to feel the pressure in the second half. Say, "Oh man, Jacksonville's came out." Can our defense shut the door when we get a double-digit lead in the ballgame, or we have to keep a single-digit lead? Or if the other team is trying to drive, can we put that defense? Can that defense become Saxonville and dominate our opponents? That's got to be the key. Like I said, you can go to any outlet. You can go to ESPN. You can go to anybody. Their analyst is going to say the same thing I'm saying. Is defense has got to be better. We got to be better in the red zone. We got to stop kicking field goals when we can get down in that red zone and score touchdowns. That's got to be the key going into the season for us. We have to dominate the line of scrimmage on offense and defense. And like my old high school coach used to tell me was, we on defense wants to set their line of scrimmage, not them setting our line of scrimmage. On our offense, we want to set our line of scrimmage, not the defense setting their line of scrimmage. Who wins the battle of the line of scrimmage can win the football game. That means your techniques of your offensive line has to be domination. They have to get their hands on the defense. They have to move them, drive them off the ball. And the thing is, the offensive people have the advantage over the defense because you know the snap count. You know when you have to fire the ball. The defense has to watch the football. They have to react to you. So if you get off the ball quicker and get your block maintained, and like in the running game, what I have seen so far on some of the running games is the offensive line is getting the initial block and coming off and getting somebody on the second tier. That's what you want to see your center do. Your center your center needs to help check the nose tackle. Once then the guard gets it blocked, that center has to bail out and find somebody on the second level to hit to keep the hole going. That's what I'm talking about, getting off the block. That's what I'm talking about. Your guys got to maintain. And what you want to do is, if you got a big nose tackle that needs to be chipped, the center chips them to the guard gets maintained, and then he goes out and tries to find another person to go hit in that second tier to keep that drive going. And then you got to look on offense. You got to look at what you want to look at is you want to look at third and short. You want to be in third and short every time. Not 3rd and 10, not 3rd and 15. We want to first down, we want to gain 3 or 4 yards. Second one, we want to gain 3 or 4 yards. Then that'd be 3rd down and 2. So that means, what I mean by that is, when you get down to 3rd and 2, Jacksonville can either do play action pass or they can run the ball. The defense has to get prepared for 2 things. Either they're going to try to get you passing, or you're going to beat them on the run. Or they're going to try to stop the run and you beat them on the pass. That's something that you want the defense to have to worry about. You don't want them to have to worry about, oh, we got them in 3rd and 10, they're going to pass the ball so we can pin our ears back and come after your quarterback. That's the thing that you need. That's the thing you need to really look at, and that's the thing that you really, really, really need to seem about, and that's where the area that you got to really talk about. So, so that's something that you really, really got to think about doing in yourself here. So, I'm gonna end on this note here for Jacksonville. Get ready. In 2 weeks, I'm gonna go up to Washington or Atlanta or Maryland, up in DC, and I want to hear y'all say Duval. Good night and peace out, brothers.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.